Yeah, in pretty much throughout the whole season, with us as a club, we've started pretty slow the first 15, 20 minutes, most first quarters too. So we tried to come out, all guns blazing, but again, it didn't work. And after the first 10, we made a few changes, and a couple of the bigger bodies went into the middle and tried to slow the flow of Hadfield, because they were actually kicking a few and taking advantage of the win. So, we did that, and after the first 10, I thought we leveled up the game, if not actually in front of him. And, the first quarter was only a couple of points in it, knowing that there was about a 6-goal win there, we thought anyway. So, just pretty slow in the last few rounds of being going. So.
Last year you were one of the leading goal kickers. This year a lot more up the ground, roaming around. Is that just a fitness and condition thing, or is it something that you wanted to do? Did you want to play midfield rather than close to goal?
I don't mind it, because I've got a few of my mates in there, so we have a bit of a laugh together. But the last few weeks I've played a bit deeper. I've kicked a few, and then today I was supposed to play deep, but the wind conditions weren't suitable. So Steve just said I'll roam me in the middle and have a kick from the 50-60, and I did a couple of those, and lucky couple of them went through. So
yeah, maybe about 45-50 kicks I think you may have had, but it was interesting calling those kicks. You've got a unique kicking style. Talk us through that. Is that influence from other sports possibly?
Yeah, just only my second year in the game. Played soccer my whole life pretty much up until 20 years old, and I gave that up, and like I said, a few of my mates were here, so they encouraged me to come down and have a kick. And like you said, last year had a pretty good year. It was in the 3rd division there, but still, first year, so I was pretty confident coming into this year that I could do something similar.
How easy has the transition been for you in terms of moving from soccer to football? Is football or AFL, is that a sport that you've played at school and for leisure sort of thing in the past, or is this are you really just fresh into it?
No, I've always had a kick as a junior. Yeah. My brother used to play back in the day, and I just always have kick with the boys in the street, that's all. But I've always, been into my sports, and footy is just another one of them that I enjoy.
And what's the off-season going to be like at Hillside now? The division you're coming back to, there's no easy games. Today would have been your biggest win of the season, but most weeks it's a high-pressure situation. You're either within touching distance of the top 4 or relegation's right behind you. Now that you know what you're in for, how important does that make next year, or am I talking about something that's a little bit too far away?
No, I thought last year after we won the final, we actually lost a few pretty good players, I thought, and a couple of ruckmans, and so hopefully in the off-season we can sign up a couple. And, we've competed with the top sides this year, along with Tullamarine, we lost by a goal early on, and I think it was Glenroy, we beat them. A few of the top sides there, West Meadows, and they're going to be playing finals. So all in all, as long as we do a bit of recruiting, I think we should be right for next year and have another decent crack at the 2nd division.
Well, you're our Sporting Globe Player of the Day. Here's a $40 voucher to spend at 690 Mount Alexander Road in Moonee Ponds. If you can just hold it up and give us a smile for the camera,
cheers,
please.
Mate.
No worries. Taking care of our great sponsor here on Northwest FM. Fab, well done. Another great performance, and enjoy the win. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Fab Di Lizia joining us here on Northwest FM Football, and his coach, Steve Kolyniuk, is about to jump into the box and have a word to us as well. Hillside rubber stamping their ticket back to Essendon for Division 1 next season. Comprehensive in the end, 18-13, 121 to 7-9-51. And Steve Kolyniuk joins us in the box now. Congratulations, Coach. A great performance today. 70 points in the end. I mean, it was only 26 at three-quarter time, but your team had the discipline and the persistence, and in the end got some big rewards.
Yeah, I think 70 points probably sort of flattered us a little bit in the end, but yeah, look, we'll take that, mate. So it's always pleasing to come to Hadfield and get a victory.
Steve, congratulations on the win. I was really excited about some of the individuals that I'd like to go through a little bit later on, but personally, from a coaching point of view, I thought you guys coached, I thought that you and your coaching staff really out-coached Hadfield today. The decision to move the ball along this Don Pavilion side of the wing and through the middle, was that a calculated risk that you guys were willing to take, or is that just the natural flair of your side?
Look, I think we always try to take the game on, but today more so, I guess the wind was blowing across the ground, so it made it easy for us to come to the attacking side, whereas Hadfield continued to play that side of the ground, and obviously the wind was there. It was probably easier to bottle it up, and I guess when we turned the ball over, we opened it up on this side. So, yeah, it was always pleasing when it comes off.
And when you did that, you allowed some of your runners to really stream through this side of the ground, particularly Victor Michaela for playing on this wing. I think he had a lot of the ball, but also Joel Benici. And obviously Fab Di Lizia. I just thought that the run off halfback was a real high point of the game today.
Yeah, I think we play well when our defence sets up correctly and we have a bit of rebound, and just having, like I said, Benich back down there and even Ed Shalander, they provide a little bit of drive. Ed's probably missed, I think, about 6 weeks. For those that don't know, he did his ACL, which he needed a knee reco. He sort of sat out for about 4 or 5 weeks waiting for an op, and then he started training, and the doctor gave him the go-ahead to play again. So wow. He reckons his quad muscles are that strong that they can compensate for any lack of strength there in the ligament. So just pleasing, to have him playing and getting a bit of drive, and having the co-captain off, back flank Blaze there, just sort of generaling the troops and sort of picking the right options, which is always important.
We spoke to Torrin Baker on the pre-game show. We were seeing Hillside for the first time today, and obviously you've contributed 6 players to the Western Jets this year, and he actually mentioned what great cooperation that Hillside and the Jets have had. It's obviously a huge chunk of your playing list as well as theirs. What about the contribution of some of your youngsters today? Because whether it was Coletta, we also thought Benici, also Bartolo, you've got some real class there in those youngsters, and as a coach it must be really nice to have a chance to play a part in moulding some of these guys.
Yeah, look, it's good. Our relationship with the Jets is very good. So, look, we would have loved to have had Jackson Volpato play, but, in the best interest of his footy career and obviously the Western Jets, we decided not to play him. So that was, one sort of, where the communication comes into account there. So it's always pleasing to see our kids play. We had Lukey Politano as well, but he unfortunately did a knee, so we're sort of one down there. But, some of the juniors coming through are very promising. And like I said, if they remain focused and committed, and that was the thing, we need to stay in this division. And by staying in this division, they're going to want to probably stick around. So.
And you speak of staying in this division. You will stay in this division now, and looking forward to next year. I'm just looking down the list. I thought that today you had some really strong influence up forward from your midfield. They floated down and kicked some goals, and then obviously Evan Bassingthwaite kicked 5 goals, I should say, and 1 in each quarter. He was really good down forward. Are you guys going to be looking for maybe a taller forward, or is there someone there that you think will play that role maybe more permanently next year? Yeah,
look, I think we need to get a bit of a gorilla down there, someone that's just big and strong and, draws players to him, and when it hits the ground we can crumb. Look, with Evo started the year great. He kicked 5 goals in his first 2 games against Tulare. He kicked 5, and West Meadows he kicked 5, and then they sort of caught on to him a little bit and manned him up very closely, and I think he dropped off a little bit with just his confidence. And like I said, he trained really well on Tuesday, and I had no hesitation in bringing him in for this important game.
And next year, what's your contract status? Do you have to sit down and negotiate a new deal, or will you definitely be coaching next year, or is that something that hasn't even been talked about based on waiting for the season to end?
Oh, look, we've spoken about it briefly. It's more the fact that I think the club going forward, the appointment, or whoever it is, whether it's myself or someone else from the outside, it needs to be sort of the next couple of years at least, because there's some good kids coming through. And
would you like the gig?
Oh, look, I think, like I said, I've always said my goal was to make sure that we survived in this division. That was the goal from the start of the year. My goal was also to win 6 games. So at the moment we're on 5. We survived in division. So, that was my focus. At the end of the season I'll weigh everything up. But for me, they're a good bunch of blokes in that. So good club. So yeah, it's good kids coming through. So yeah, I think it's a good job.
Well, last one. On a totally different subject, who's the best team in the division? Who's going to win the flag?
Look, I think one of the best teams.
If I may, I'll give you the around-the-ground scores today, if that could have any influence on your decision. West Coburg 17-21, 123 defeated Glenroy 8-4-52.
Good side.
Tullamarine 18-17, 125 defeated West Meadows 2-4-16.
Good side.
And the other team, the other result was Craigieburn 14-12, 96 losing to Oak Park 17-8, 110. Those two, of course, already out of the finals race.
Yeah, look, on what I've seen this season, I think Taylor's Lakes are a very good side, that they've been playing good footy for a long period of time, over a 7 or 8 period under the same coach, Steve Burns, which is bearing fruition this year. I think very disciplined. They're hitting their form at the right time. Look, but I still believe, like I said, West Coburg on a big ground with their kids and pace. I just think, like I said, they're a very good side, and we play them next week, so we'll get a first-hand look to to see how they're gearing up for the finals.
Oh, we look forward to next season. All the best to the Hillside to EDFL review. The full-time score in the match today was Hillside 18-13, 121, defeating Hadfield 7-9-51. The coach of Hadfield, Robert Don, has been good enough to join us. Never easy to speak after a defeat, Rob, but what can you say about today's result and the way it fell apart in the last quarter?
Oh, it was disappointing. Like, realistically, our undisciplined acts. Do you know what I mean? We're talking about percentage as a chance to stay in Div 1, and we got blokes giving 50-metre penalties late, and, you know, it's just silly. So we had some silly undisciplined acts which just don't help your cause. And, you know, they were better than us on the day, no drama, but I just think, you know, we let the margin blow out a little bit too much, and I just said to the guys then, I don't know if they really care about going to Div 2, if they're going to give silly free kicks and 50s in the last quarter like that.
First 3 goals, up by 18 points at the 9-minute mark. We thought you guys had come to play. Did you see any signs that it was going to swing like that, or was it not really until the second quarter when you had a crack against the wind that you started to feel that sinking feeling?
No, I thought in the first quarter we should have got a few more goals. We had plenty of shots. And so if we had have got a few more goals up at the first quarter, I think it could have been a different story. We didn't take our opportunities. And then the second quarter, we held them okay. They were only 2 goals up at half-time. It was the third quarter when we had the breeze and they came out and just blew us away. That's where we lost the game.
Rob, when you do play at this ground, I find it very unique. It's almost an NFL situation. You have the attacking side, and then the next quarter you have the defensive side. Is that something that you guys sort of practice at training?
Oh, not particularly. I just think the funniest thing I reckon is wherever the coach is, they always want to get a kick in front of the coach. So wherever you go, I've used to be on this side of the ground, and then I changed to that side, and wherever we set up, they all seem to want to come over there. So I don't know.
That's exactly what Hillside told us. They like attacking around the other wing to your bench because the bench was on the other side of the ground.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's just the way it is. I think it's something subliminal.
Just one of those unexplainable things in footy, but it's very interesting. As you mentioned, Teo, in the first quarter, you guys got off to a reasonably good start. What do you think sort of happened after, particularly, as you say, in that third quarter? Was it some of the injuries that you had in that first half, did they come into play?
I don't think the injuries in the start of the third quarter. I just think that they got the ball out of the middle easily and put pressure up. You know, going into the breeze, they had the ball up their end and got a few goals. And then that's when we started to fall apart a little bit. I just think, you know, we didn't win the middle in the third quarter to get the ball forward to put them under pressure. And that's then they kicked a couple of goals and then the game was basically done by then.
When we got here to the ground, we saw in the twos a guy with sticky tape for his number. We saw a guy wearing West Coburg shorts and socks playing for you. And we saw a guy with silver hair who looked about 65 years old playing in the twos. Just how hard up are you for numbers with this injury crisis that you've been going through?
Well, basically, we've had between 15 and 17 out of our best 25 out for the last, 6 to 8 weeks. And Mad Dog's 60-something years of age. He was at our 25th reunion recently. And, he's pulled the boots back on. He umpires in the morning.
He kicked a goal.
He umpires in the morning.
He can play.
Wow.
He umpires in the morning.
That's amazing.
And then he actually come up to me and said, if you're short in the ones, can I have a run today? So he's still got his enthusiasm.
But how tough is that for you as a coach to keep morale high when you know that players look around the dressing room and they see guys with arms in slings or limping and guys that aren't at training anymore because they've been injured for so long? I mean, does that actually add to hurting the morale as well, or would you say that the morale has been high in spite of the number of troops who've gone down?
I think the morale has been high in spite of the number of troops go down, and the thing that I like, I've been coaching 8 years now, and this year with so many injuries, we've had the guys from 25 to 35 that have had a lot more game time and they've stepped up and they've performed admirably. And so I just think that some of those players, this is going to be a season which is going to define them as footballers going forward. They're going to develop a lot. So out of adversity comes opportunity, there's no doubt.
And correct me if you're wrong, speaking of opportunity, I think you mentioned that Abdul Mutasa, he's an under-18 player that played this morning. I actually thought he ran the game out really well. I thought he was one of your better players in the second half. So obviously difficult to find positives on a day like that, but that must be a positive for you.
100%, because we had 2 pull out this morning and Abs stepped up and played a second game after the 18s today. And, he's a really good footballer. He's got a lot of ability. And, going forward, he could definitely be a strong senior footballer. So, that's definitely a positive. And there's a few other guys there that, Do you know what I mean? Like Zach Pellizzeri, I think he's come on. Alex Kolyniuk, young Harry Walker. You know, he's come to Hadfield. His family's involved with the club. He's come to Hadfield. He's played senior footy. He's never played senior footy anywhere else. He's improved. So there's always positives there.
And obviously, as you say, next year, whatever, regardless of the division that you're in, these type of players, they're players that maybe wouldn't have had senior footy experience. They're chomping at the bit when you've got a full list. So I guess that's some of the positives that you're probably looking forward to.
100%. If everyone ends up hanging around, I mean, we'll bat a lot deeper. And some of the guys that normally get senior games, some of these guys will take their spots now. So it will add to, the pressure for spots. 100%.
And last one, next week, you guys have Oak Park.
Yes.
Craigieburn has Taylors Lakes.
Yes.
Craigieburn's losing margin today means that you guys will start the round bottom of the table.
Definitely.
Is it what sort of a week is this? What will the build-up be like, and what will you try to lift your team to either A, get the win, or B, get close enough and maybe hope for the best from Taylors Lakes, but more importantly, keep it in your own hands, get the win to try and stay up?
Well, look, it's just a massive week for the club, and we're going to be looking for players that want to show commitment. Some of the guys that are a little bit undisciplined today, they'll be under pressure for their spots. And, we're going to be looking for some of the guys to get back who still haven't been playing, maybe to have one crack at last round. So we might get 3 or 4 back next week. We need to, get a little bit more depth back into our side.
Can you do it? Can you stay up?
I think we can, 100%, but it's just a matter of coming with a complete effort and a disciplined effort all day. Can't afford to let your discipline drop.
Robert, thanks so much for joining us. All the best next week, and we wish Hadfield well. Thanks for giving us your time after a tough day at the office.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate it.